2017 meeting the Town of Sunset Beach Town Council. I request everyone join me in pledging allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get into amendments or approval on the draft agenda, there's a couple announcements I wanted to make, and anybody else want to make any announcements or comments. I don't know if you all received a copy of the FEMA letter on, or it was a letter from North Carolina where basically FEMA reimbursements have been suspended based upon Harvey and Irma impacts because they aren't sure they're going to have enough money for everything. So, do we have any pending, Susan?
Yes,
And that's been suspended?
yes,
Okay.
In what amount?
How much?
approximately 130. We'll have a staff report to you at the next meeting.
Has it been suspended, Mayor, or postponed, or delayed, or put on the
It's a
shelf?
temporary delayed.
Okay.
It's been submitted,
Yes.
and they're just not doing any disbursement. It requires, the Senate.
What it says is, in total, this is from the governor's office, in total sum, 134.5 million eligible in the public assistance program for North Carolina recovery from Hurricane Matthew is frozen until further notice from FEMA.
Okay, so it doesn't mean it's been rejected or...
Correct.
Right.
But that, if we still have 130,000 out, we have already been reimbursed,
Yes,
what, about
200
220,
and-
220, something like that? Roughly.
roughly.
Okay.
I don't have it in
Very-
front of me.
very
I don't
roughly.
wanna- I don't want to make any misstatements. But we will have a staff report to the council at the next meeting.
Good.
The other thing that I just wanted to bring to council's attention is that I spent last Wednesday with, the majority of the day with Assemblyman Eiler and the Speaker of the North Carolina Assembly, Tim Moore, who were down here. We were at a ribbon cutting, and then we did a tour of the park and the boat ramp, and it was most of the afternoon. The next item on the agenda, anybody else have any comments or discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to discuss I hate to say it again, it seems like it's a yearly event, but the town booth, public officials manning the town booth, and it was my understanding that last year, and
Let's put that on we can put that on as an item of old business because we haven't adopted
Yeah.
the agenda yet.
yeah.
Okay,
Oh, I thought that's, okay.
all right. Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. Just came back from a trip. Selected what I did because of council dates. It was the only one I could find that sandwiched right in between. Didn't go for longer so I could be back for this meeting. Extremely disappointing that I come back and I find this agenda, which has nothing on it. What the heck happened to all the items that were supposed to be on for today?
First, Hurricane Irma. Second, the items that were initially scheduled to be on this agenda are on the agenda.
No, we had at the last meeting, when we discussed items to be put on for 9/19, we had the Twin Lakes easement, we had the fire system budget amendment discussion, we had a maximum density request. Those three things are, now they're on for the next meeting, but they're not on for today. So, you know, we wind up with a Monday night meeting that is 4 hours long and everybody's exhausted. And then we have a Tuesday morning meeting and I told my husband to be home in an hour.
Well, on behalf of staff, I apologize that we dedicated our time to the highest priority in preparing for the Hurricane Irma, and we are beginning to prepare for Hurricane Maria.
But wait a minute, some of these didn't require, I mean, this thing with the 12-foot access easement has been in the works for, I don't know how long.
It is in the hands
the
of
bit
our
with the
legal
hearing
counsel.
on- Excuse me, the bit,
It's in the hands of our legal counsel.
the bit with the density hearing, why is that not on for today?
It is with Grady, our legal counsel.
I can speak to the fire issue, the fire fees system. We don't have to, we've discussed how the fire fee system works. It's more with regard to department personnel. That's not on because in discussions that I've had with the finance director, we expect to have the audit by October. And before we talk about numbers, we want specific numbers. And we'll have specific, hope to have specific numbers by
That
October.
audit is not going to be the way we get those specific numbers.
It sure
The audit
is.
can't do it.
Do you know, where do you think the numbers for the fund balances come from?
Well, we first have to decide how we're going to use the additional funding.
But you don't know
And-
what, you don't, know- the issue is, Rich, you don't know what the number is. You don't know how much it is, you don't know how much is in each fund. And what I've been advised is that it's, the audit, what's gonna happen is we're gonna talk about numbers. We're gonna talk about all kinds of numbers, and they're all gonna be wrong. And then somebody's gonna say, well, you said it was this. And then in reality, when the audit comes out, it's that. And before we get into discussion about that, we ought to have the concrete, now, if the audit was not gonna be like it was until last year, until April or May, that'd be entirely different. But this is, we're supposed to have it in October.
But you're talking about philosophical decisions, and we don't need to know that it's $104,000 as opposed to $126,000.
No, you do, Carol. Some of these issues, you're gonna be spending money.
The decision that we have to make, I believe, is, and I could be wrong, and I may be oversimplifying it, but we have $240,000 of additional revenues that we are receiving due to the county's 25% increase in the fire fee. The decision that we have to make is, what are we going to do with that estimated $240,000? Use the money for a roof? Hire more staff, give the money back to the taxpayers? What are we going to do? That's the decision that we have to make.
Except that you cannot make it in a vacuum. Do you know, are you prepared today to say how much is in the reserve fund? Are you in a position to say how much is in the different, there's about 8 different funds, what the balance in each one of those funds are that could be used for the roof as opposed to the $242,000? What I'm saying is, before you make that decision, you ought to have the numbers, which we're going to have by October. Susan?
I just want to advise you that we need to remain on this agenda.
Well, it was a comment that Carol made that we're
I
really addressing.
understand. We were going down the road.
Just, I'd just like to make one point. October is the dead date. That's no longer, no push it down the road any farther, no kicking the can. We need to know by October about the amount of money we have in reserves and for this fund.
Well,
mean-
you're not, it's, once again, as I said, it would be entirely different if it was April or May like it was last year, when you got the audit. But it's happened in the past where people talk about numbers that are not reality, and you need the reality numbers. Susan?
The auditor is scheduled to do their presentation on October 17th.
17th, or, yeah, 17th, okay, it's not the 19th.
Honestly, what I see happening is some of these issues, which are fairly controversial, and you know there's a difference of views on council. I'm going to come out and say it. I mean, I think this is all being pushed until after the elections, and hopefully, you know, one side is going to hope that they have 5 members in council who are going to give them their position, and other people are saying they hope they have a different position. I'm not going to be here. It's not going to be my decision. However, you know, you can't, I don't want to see October and November wasted because nobody wants to put something on here to get the current council to make a
Make a
decision.
decision.
I would agree with you 100%, and that's why I went through the explanation I went through with regard to the budget, the audit issue. As far as the 12-foot easement, that you're right, it's been on for a long time, and that is in the hands of the attorney. If you recall, with regard to the other issue, Richard Grady, the town attorney, is researching. He doesn't have an answer and hasn't provided an answer with regard to the rezoning. And so if we were to have it on their agenda today, there's nothing we could do about it. 'cause
When
we don't
is
have an
Grady
answer.
supposed to give us an answer? Has he been given any deadline? Have you said to him, really, I mean, you know, I'm sorry at this point, I'm fairly suspicious. You know, is he told, oh, let's delay it, we'll give it to Grady, and then we don't have to come up with a decision?
I find a lot of these comments highly offensive.
Well, you
I'm
know,
just putting it
sitting
on the
here
record.
with an empty agenda.
I've already explained why. And I don't give Grady direction. This board does.
I didn't send some of these things to Grady, nor did I see any requests that went to Grady, despite the fact that we had given specific directions that I was supposed to be kept in the loop. I have not been kept in the loop, and I've about had it, Susan.
Carol, we had a meeting where it was discussed, and he specifically said that he would research it and come back with the answer for us. You were present at the meeting.
When is he going to, what I want to know is what his timetable is for getting an answer.
He's not here, so we can't answer that question, but we can make the inquiry. Any other comments?
Susan, is it possible to move up the audit until the 2nd for the 17th?
No.
It depends on when they get their work
I
done.
know, just ask the question.
Any other comments? All right,
Is this on the agenda
got you-
discussion?
yeah, on the agenda.
I'd like to add under old business, I guess, the perennial problem of the town booth at Sunset at
I
Sunset.
already put that on, Rich.
Oh, did you?
We
I'm
already know.
sorry. Oh,
Yeah.
You're quick.
I mean, you mentioned it earlier. I assume that's what
But
you're
I just
talking about.
do want to say, and I share with Carol's opinions and thoughts, we have a tendency to kick simple cans down the road, and I think we need to be mindful of that. And we can always find excuses not to make decisions, but decisions we have to make.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition?
Mayor, one comment, please. And this is well, I'll make it after the motion because it has
Okay.
to do with next meeting's agenda.
Mark moves to accept the draft agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now,
Mayor,
yes.
this is on the agenda topic. Next, on the October 2nd meeting, one of the agenda items is discussion concerning Chapter 99 Park Rules, Use and Fee Schedule. At our last council meeting, Councilwoman Scott indicated or suggested that I quarterback with town staff and with the rest of council to get the wording together because it's all important about the specific words that each of us on council will agree to accept. As I sat down in order to do that, I realized that these park rules and the answering to the citizens with explanations in the future as to why the rules are worded the way they are, for me not running for council after November, it looked to me to be going down a wrong road. I, in writing, asked Mr. Serrato to champion that rewording, and Rich did respond back to me, but indicated that he believes that he's already provided my thoughts and his thoughts and concerns. What I don't want to do is have an agenda item for October 2nd that is not fully supported by council. And unless somebody on council shepherds this rewording by staff of what we're going to vote on, it's going to be an exercise in futility. We're going to have a round and round and round up here and not agree on the words.
Pete, Rich and I have discussed this, and we're ready to do that. We'll have
Excellent.
everything done by the October 2nd meeting.
I'll give them, and I'll
Excellent.
give them a hand,
And,
We-
so-
separately.
Excellent.
In addition to that, I've prepared a singular document that took the old documents and redlined them with your comments and with Carol's comments and comments from other council people. It's all in one document. I mean, that's not the be-all and end-all.
Well, there's 3 documents that have to be amended.
I know,
but-
it's the ordinance, it's the rules, and it's the fee schedule, and it addresses all 3 of them. And my intent was to have that circulated by Lisa in time so the council could look at it before the October 2nd meeting. But, I mean, that's not the be-all and end-all, but
Bob,
it's there.
I was just told by Susan that it needs to be in by this Friday. It's not gonna be done by this Friday, so we need to push it off to the 17th.
Well, mine is.
Rich
Mine's
and I are
done.
not.
Well, and mine was done 6 weeks ago. Redlining, margin notes, so specific wording would be understood by the rest of council.
May I make a suggestion? If I meet with you on Thursday, you'll be able to have it done by Friday. Maybe Monday, Susan, however.
Shouldn't one of these
I'm
documents?
sorry, we have put things on the agenda with 3 days' notice. We're going to direct you to put it on the agenda for October 2nd, and we will get it done as soon as we can.
The bulk of the work is done. There are some decisions that have to be made, but I think we need to reduce it to writing. There's some philosophical issues that need to be addressed. I think Susan has done already with her memo, I think it was dated September 5th, put down the rates in a very simple format. Peter, I accept the challenge. I received the information that you provided with this, the agenda today. So I plan to work with Mark, Carol, and each of you individually if necessary, get Bob's notes, put it all together, and work with Susan, and just have a policy hopefully in place, just a policy, before the next meeting for people's comments, discussions.
Rich, we need it done by Friday. That's what Susan's telling me.
And we need to stop looking at this thing as in the...
It should not be a hot
We need to,
potato.
we need to hone in on words that we're all going to support and vote on. We don't need to be, we've talked about this for 5 council meetings.
Yeah.
And
Is there a
we're
single,
delinquent.
is there a single draft
Well, that,
that we can,
Almost.
that we can look at,
Almost.
you know,
that's-
before Friday?
I did that. It's
Okay.
been done for
Okay.
Okay.
a week or 10
Did you
days.
send it out?
No, I didn't
No,
send it out
okay.
because I'm not going to send it out to individual council people because I think that violates the.
But you send it to Lisa.
I haven't sent it to Lisa. I've shared it with Susan, and I did send it to Lisa.
When can we have
Okay.
it, Bob? We said today?
Bob,
Ken,
in all fairness, you're the mayor and not supposed to be voting on these issues. It seems to me that the people who should be working on this are the people on council.
Nobody was doing it. That's why I did it.
That's not true, Bob.
Well,
That's not true.
All right, let's put
Ken,
an end to
I
this.
shouldn't, you're correct. You're correct.
All right.
I misspoke. I misspoke. We were going around in circles, which is why I did it.
Yeah.
I misspoke.
All right, I will meet with Susan before Friday.
No, we have to meet twice this week, Rich.
Hmm?
You and I have to meet twice this week and then go to Susan on
Well, you
Thursday.
guys, we don't need to discuss that publicly. You guys could discuss it. as
We'll
a regular
handle it.
meeting and get it done.
can we have a document of some form in a
Oh,
Word document that can be, edits
Yes.
can be put on and sent back?
Yeah.
Mine
Rather
is.
than handwriting
Yeah.
on a
Yes.
printed
Yeah.
paper? And with time, if we have this final by Friday, leaves 2
Yeah.
days to,
No, no, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have it by Friday. What Susan said is, they have to have it by Friday for
Right.
the agenda. So it would go out, it would be circulated before the second.
Meeting.
But you don't have to have it by Friday.
We have to give it to Susan.
Well, if we give it to Susan, we also give it to John.
Well,
Yeah.
she'll circulate.
And Susan, I'm sorry, I'm gonna, I hate to belabor this issue, but we've had many a time, we've had items on agendas where we did not have the thing done until Wednesday or Thursday or even Friday, and some of that was staff stuff, and it was still put on the October 2nd agenda. So I choose to believe that we have time to get it done, and if it's not by Friday, and if it's by Monday, it can still occur. Well, but we'll give something to you in Word form so that you don't have to retype everything in. Because you sent us the Word documents.
All right, now the next item on the agenda is, any more comments,
No, thank you,
council?
Mayor.
The floor is open for public comments on the agenda items only. If you have a comment on the agenda items, please step forward, state your name and address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Tom?
Tom Vincenz, 422 36th Street. Just a comment under old business, item C, the 2 planning board term expirations. I don't know where the discussion's going to go this morning, but I just want to make sure council's aware that in addition to these 2, our ETJ member has resigned. So from an expediency point of view and to get the biggest bang for our advertising dollar, I would hope that we would advertise that opening as well. And that resignation is already effective.
And you'll get an answer. We'll do that today.
Good.
Right.
Thank you.
We just need a written resignation. We have not
I
received
remember
that.
that Lisa had asked that, but I wasn't sure if this would even be made known today. So I just did want to make sure that the
Thanks,
council
John.
was
So
aware.
that's Robert Tone?
I'm sorry.
Robert Tone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bob Tone.
Thank you.
not received that formal resignation from him.
You have not,
I've had conversations with him, so, you know, he's.
yeah, he informed me that he was hanging up his cleats.
Okay, just if you can, make sure that he gets a copy to Lisa.
I'll
You know,
call
formally,
today
okay,
and
thanks.
Remind him of that. Thank you.
Next item is old business, consideration of action to formally reduce the ABC board membership to 3.
But I thought we had already done that. We requested, we had a council thing, we requested that we get permission to go back from 5 to 3. We got it. Why do we, out of curiosity, why do we need something again? Because you never took formal action to reduce it. So even though our vote was to request that we be allowed to do it, now we have to say, okay, now that we're allowed to do it, we're requesting that we be allowed to do it.
No,
Seems-
we-
Now you're doing it. You got permission, and now you have to take the action.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we formally reduce the Sense of Beach ABC membership from 5 to 3.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Next item is reappointment for ABC board term expiring November 2017, and authorizing the town clerk to advertise.
In order to be consistent with everything we have done for the last 8 years or more, longer, we love who we have on the ABC board. However, our position has been that we advertise positions as they become vacant, and I move that we advertise the ABC board term expiration position.
Mayor, discussion.
Discussion.
Somewhat unusual, but I see representatives of the ABC board in our audience. I'd be very interested in any comments from you, Herb.
I have no issue with the council advertising the position to see if there's other qualified members of the community that want to serve.
Any,
It's up to you to make a decision.
I believe, well, I won't speak for you. I believe that going from 5 to 3 was also something that you thought was manageable, doable, and acceptable.
Yes.
Thank you,
Any
Mayor.
other discussion? None appearing, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The next item is consideration reappointment of 2 planning board members, term expirations, or authorization for town clerk to advertise for the 2 positions.
I move we advertise the 2 positions for the planning board term expirations.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The items of new business, discussion concerning,
I think Rich had something.
that, I have it, I put under new business.
You put it under new business?
Yes, I put under new business. When you originally mentioned it, I put under new business. Discussion concerning request for NCBIWA Board for Director nominations.
This is a slippery slope here. That's been an organization that has not necessarily been taking positions in the interests of Sunset Beach. So I'll leave that to all of you since, again, I won't be here.
Is that the old board, Carol, that has the, that's the new name of this?
Susan, is it?
I'm sorry.
What's the NCBIWA?
Was that the Brunswick County
Yes,
thing before
It
it got in trouble?
Yes.
And they
yes,
renamed and,
yes, and now it's under county, the county supervision.
all right,
Under the county supervision?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
there's a staff member that,
yeah, we don't want to get into that noise.
It's still
Susan,
the
does
old
the county-
members. It's the old members, but the county presence, let's put it like that.
To my question, thank you, Carol, is, does the county have any say as to who serves on this board?
no. The community members are the ones that nominate board members.
If you want to put me on the board to keep an eye on things, I'd be more than happy to, but do we want to, as Carol said, do we want to participate in it? If you don't know what's going on, we can't.
Here's a suggestion. Whoever participates should be preparing. It can be one paragraph.
Oh, yeah.
On what happened to allow, that did not happen before with our old representation.
Yes, I
And
know
we did
that.
not know what positions they were taking.
I know
But
that.
as long as you appoint somebody who'll keep council apprised.
Yeah.
We should be okay.
But if you're going to serve on the board, Rich, you have to participate. You can't, that wouldn't be fair to occupying a seat without being participatory.
Say that again?
You indicated that you would serve on the board, but you would not participate.
No, I didn't
That's
say
a-
that. No,
you-
no.
that's what
don't
I
put-
heard.
No, don't put.
Rich, what if,
I said I would,
what if this was, what if Rich was put on until after the elections and then a new council make that decision? And it could continue to be Rich, it could be somebody else.
Well, it's not, it isn't our decision, as I read this, it isn't our decision who's going to be on this
Yeah.
council.
Whoever
Because you gotta
wants to
submit-
be on it
You
has
have
to
to
submit
submit
a
a biography
resume
and
and
resume and whatnot.
the town
So
isn't.
the question is whether the town wants to have one of our council members
Wants to-
put their name in the pot to be,
First we
to
have-
see if they get appointed.
I don't know that the town has anything to say about this. Whoever wants to be on the board has to submit a resume, qualifications, and fulfill their paperwork, the committee's paperwork, not the town's.
We could still be a member and not necessarily have somebody on the board.
Right.
And maybe
Right.
that's
This,
the answer.
this is a request, what it says is that under the bylaws, they formed a nominating committee consisting of their directors. And they want to identify members interested in serving on this board. So it would go through the nominating committee and then eventually, I mean, we don't have to say as to who goes on the
you
board.
have to say to who you nominate.
Right.
It has to be done by tomorrow.
Susan, are we obligated to have someone? Okay.
Is there a downside of not having someone?
And you're just not participating in the policy decisions and
That could,
formulation
that could impact the town.
that could impact the town.
One would assume that policy decisions are still going to be brought before the entire membership, and not everything decided by the board.
I would hope so.
Well, you don't know that.
Perfect world.
I really think it's, we are a coastal community, and I think it's in our best interest to,
If Rich knows.
Have somebody.
Nominate Rich to be, put his resume in. I'd rather know what's going on. than not know what's going on.
Participating can always be healthy.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
But again, Rich would need to understand that he has to send his name, a brief bio, and your residing location by tomorrow to
Can you,
Dawn York with an email address.
What's the email addresses there?
can you do that?
It appears nobody else on the,
Do it.
on the dais wants to do it, so.
Do it.
I don't know that we need to vote on it.
Thanks, Bob.
The next is agenda items for the October 2nd meeting. All right, let me go over them. Do we know about the access easement for Twin Lakes? We don't know that. So we're just going to carry that to the 2nd in the
What we
event?
do is we contact him and ask him if it's ready to be brought forward, and if it's not, then we put it on the next meeting.
All right, but so we'll carry it forward so we don't lose it. The next is the maximum density, same answer. That will go to the 2nd. The next is the appeal hearings on Palm Cove.
That's fine.
I assume they're set, they're,
All set?
okay. Discussion concerning Chapter 99 park rules, that's on. Consideration of conflict of interest policy, that's under Councilman Serrato's name.
I've been directed to get him
Yeah.
Oh, that's right,
Sample.
the samples, okay. Are you going to be in a position to do that by the, okay.
Thank you, Susan.
The budget amendment discussion concerning flow fire fees, whatever, that's on for the 2nd. The annual,
Is it on for the 2nd or the 17th?
The auditor is presenting on the 17th, so the decision hinges on the most up-to-date fund balance numbers.
I still say that that number has nothing to do with the policy considerations that we are going to be making. And I'm telling you, this cannot, I'll go along with it going on to the 17th, but not one day after that. It is not going to get postponed again. I don't care if we have the numbers or not on the 17th. Thank you.
that's for the 17th. The street paving contract. The 12th, we have a meeting for the discussion of Camet land use plan.
You said it.
Everybody on board, still on board with that?
Is that going to, I thought we were setting a special meeting,
It is.
but it looks like it's taking the place
No,
of the, I don't see another meeting in October.
yes, 17.
We
That's
just
the
said.
12th.
I'm sorry, we didn't have anything on here. Okay, the 17th.
Just as
I
a
got it.
reminder to council, Hiram has asked that if we have any, and his schedule is pretty impacted between now and then, if anybody from council wants to discuss some of the terms or wording of the revised CAMA land use plan, that we really need to give him an opportunity prior to coming into that council meeting on the 12th, and that special meeting, and bringing up things for the first time then. He can then prepare better to be able to respond.
My suspicion is that we're not going to be raising new issues. We just want to make sure the old issues we raised are addressed.
Exactly.
So I'm pretty comfortable
It-
with,
We've already gone through this thing. The horse has been watered several times. We all have given our viewpoints as to rewording, and we want to make, if the wording isn't exactly what we wanted, we need to talk with Hiram about why it isn't, or what the meaning really is.
All right, we should be in a position, so that's, 12th is okay, that the roof on Fire Station 1 for November 6th, are we going to be in a position to be able to act on that?
Let me ask a question regarding that, the Mayor, if I can. I believe that the motion that we voted on unanimously here from the dais was to submit an RFQ for the repair of the roof in accordance with the consultant's, Terracon's analysis.
We did.
Terracon also talked about a budgetary number, which was a pretty big nut, for a new roof.
Yes.
In the RFQ that we've sent out, are contractors just looking at the repair per Terracon? They're not looking at a new roof?
Correct.
Okay. And just as a sidebar, the reason I bring that up is repair of a roof under a certain scope of work and at a certain bid price is obviously subject to change orders, differing site conditions, as they dig in and remove flashing and other things, and they say, oh, here's something else that's wrong. By getting and it's too late now, obviously, but by getting a price of a new roof, we know that a new roof means a new roof, not as likely to have differing site conditions and changes required by unforeseen circumstances, unforeseen, uncovered. So I guess there's nothing we can do about it right now.
No. We can always cancel the bid, but you're talking another delay of 6 months. I
No.
recommend we see
Are you,
it.
No,
are you
I'd go.
suggesting
Okay.
maybe putting out 2 or?
No, I would have liked to have seen it on one RFQ, because it's all the same work, it's all in accordance with the Terracon report. But I'm not suggesting we delay it, because even the receipt of this RFQ and the prices and the scopes from the contractors is meaningful to us. It's certainly information that can be of benefit. But I'm just saying we're kind of stepping off a board and we don't know how deep the water is. Let's say they come back and they say it's $168,000.50 as they dig into it, because it's a repair, it's not new. It could be subject to.
Yeah. Well, I think also in the replacement of a new roof, you will also face change orders. We were able to fix Station 2 by not replacing the roof. So I thought it was most prudent that we get these repairs done sooner than later. If those repairs fail, and I don't believe they will, that, you know, to replace a roof without even attempting to repair, I don't think it's a prudent and wise.
Well, that's why I
Yeah.
wanted it a double bid item, if you will, where bid
Right.
on replacing, bid on repairing, and bid on replacing, all in the same quote.
Yeah, I don't think,
Well-
just based on my experience, I don't think you would have gotten the number of, in fact, we just did a pre-bid, construction pre-bid. We only had one person show up. So I think if it would have been a much larger RFP. And now we're competing with Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma
Sure.
contractors.
Mhm.
And so this is what I thought was a prudent way to proceed.
Oh, I'm not
Yeah.
questioning it, I'm trying to get us to think of bigger picture too. and
Okay,
have
all right.
this in consideration.
We're beyond that because we can't do anything about it anyway right now.
No.
At least
no.
wait until the bids come in and we see what we're dealing with.
All right, the next item is the public hearing on the CAMA land use plan for November 21st. Is everybody on board with that? Everybody's on board with that? The paving projects on the 2 streets,
We're in engineering.
and is there any expectation of when that's likely to be finished, if we're in a position?
We are moving in a pace, we're expedited pace, but again, we have to advertise, we have to put it out, and we're in the engineering phase at this point in time.
Can you just, a rough timetable?
No, I don't want to put it
What
out
did we
there.
ask the engineers to do? Did we
Well,
give
we
them
have
any
to-
time frame?
We have a draft engineering reports on my desk right
Okay,
now that's
okay.
going under review. But I don't know if it's sufficient, so it would have to go back to the engineers. That's
But
why I
it's-
hesitate. It's
But the
moving
whole thing is
forward.
being expedited and you're doing the
Yes.
best you can.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question on that. When the bids come back in, will the people who live on those streets have one more chance to say yes or no? Or,
I'm going to defer to this lady right here because we gave you a sheet on that.
They've already said yes.
they said,
They signed a
they said
petition.
yes that they said, so far, if we accept the price, that's it, then they'll be charged
50.
ultimately
But
for
there
it.
will be a public hearing, and they will have the opportunity at that point, at an open council meeting, to say, oh my God, that price is 8 times more than we thought, and we really can't afford it, and we don't want you to proceed.
And if
And I
the-
assume we would have an obligation to at least listen to those comments.
And if the engineer requires a deep undercut, we here at council are going to be responsive and professional and say, hold it, this is a bigger scope than probably anybody thought. And we would then bring it back for discussion, just like Carol's saying.
The good thing is that we do know that we, at this point in time, are not going to be required to submit for a CAMA permit. We are waiting from the state regarding the stormwater.
The,
A lot of balls in the air.
yeah, it's not just the engineers that's the unknown here, it's also the state and the, okay. The final comment on that, the bottom line is that after the hearings and after the schedule of council and whatnot, the statute still provides for an appeal period for anybody that wasn't satisfied with the action that the council took on that request. So we really can't put a date for that. A discussion on a dredging survey. Councilman Serrato, that's under your name.
Well, we're still waiting for all the information, so that I'm hoping that once we gather all the information,
Rich, microphone.
hopefully once we
It's
gather
not
all,
on.
hopefully once we gather all the information, we'll be able to do a survey that we'll have to work out.
Okay, so that's an open date. The discussion on the Metcalf Drive roadway. Do we need any more information? Do we need anything that we can't schedule that to be resolved?
You received a request. This request has been discussed at different boards and has been denied. What additional information do you need from us?
No, I don't, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't,
There was a whole bunch of stuff that we were supposed to be doing research on the history of
Yeah.
what was stated to them back in, there were allegations made that they were promised certain things. We were supposed to go back
I-
and try and see if we had any
I
information
went
at all
through,
on any of
I
that.
went through the whole annexation file. I
Okay.
looked at the whole annexation file.
As did Grady.
And it was done in accordance with the statute that existed at the time.
Okay.
The only substantial differences that I found between that statute and the present statute is the time period within which the appeal could be made. But there were public hearings, there were written notices, there were verifications of the mailings of the notices, and everything that I looked at now, you might want to wait for the opinion of the attorney as to whether all the Ts were crossed and the Is were dotted, but for everything I looked at, it complied with what the then existing statute was. And there was no, in that, there's no reference to taking of streets.
I'm not surprised to hear that, because that was my recollection. But, so you want to
And
schedule a
I've shared that,
final
I've shared
decision
that
by council?
information, yeah, I've shared that information with Grady. I don't know what I haven't asked him what he's done about it, or,
You think we could put that on for 10/17? And just put the end to
We,
this?
we owe it to the citizens there, that by us having this on the agenda, they're wishfully thinking that it's going to be, that a positive outcome is going to happen, and we need to put this to bed
I
finally.
agree. So how about if we add that to the 10/17?
Susan, do you see any
We do
issue
that?
with that, if we could put this on,
Good.
like, third on Grady's list? 10/17?
Did any of you talk to former Mayor Klein?
yes, I did.
And?
Oh, he denies it, the statements that were made. The next is number 15, which is the ordinance which Hiram has requested be carried into 2018.
You know, what concerns me about this is, some of them were the authority of the building inspectors, and we were supposed to be adding the authority of the building inspectors in some other sections, not just unsafe housing. That was one of the things that never got passed, the old Chapter 51 building code things, that we never adopted into the UDO. And we keep putting it off, and I'm concerned about a challenge to actions by our building inspectors if it's not in the UDO. But Hiram is not here to
Well, at the
answer
last,
that concern. I just hate this constantly being delayed. I want to make sure that any actions we take now are going to be legal, would withstand a legal challenge.
Well, as I recall, when Hiram made his presentation on this,
Are you agreeing that we're going to research it, or are you agreeing that it would withstand a legal challenge?
Yes.
No, that's, okay.
Thank you.
Aren't those authorities in accordance with the state law?
What-
And the state
wait,
building codes.
we keep going over this. Hiram was here and said why he wanted it postponed. We all agreed to have it postponed. We keep going over and
No,
over and
that
over
makes a lot of
things.
sense. I just want to make sure that the general duties and obligations of the building inspectors and other than minimum housing are in our UDO and that our people are protected. That's all I'm asking.
That's the last of the disposition directives. Anybody have anything else? All right, now the Sunset at Sunset. Rich, you had it.
Yes. We all received a email from Lisa requesting if we volunteer a time to staff the town booth. Although the record appears to be different, it was my clear thought that this issue, after many years of discussion, was finally resolved last year. And the resolution of it was that because we could staff the booth only in non-election years to avoid the appearance that our presence at the Sunset at Sunset Town booth is not political.
Not to cut you short, but I want to.
Yeah, I know
I understand
that.
what you're saying. Does it address, what my understanding of what you're talking about is candidates, not council members. You're talking about candidates.
Council members can be candidates.
I understand that. I'm saying candidates. There's only one council member, present council member is a candidate,
That's correct.
and myself. So
Yeah.
that would, what we're talking about is Peter could be there, you could be there, Carol could be there, Mark could be there, and it wouldn't violate the policy you're talking
Yes, it
about.
would.
Why couldn't John be there if he just doesn't campaign?
Well, I'm just trying to establish what his position is for a minute here. You think that the policy is there should be no council people there?
Personally, my thought would be no council person would be there. However, if I recall, and help me out, Carol Scott made the recommendation to solve it, hopefully once and for all, not to have council members there during election years.
Honestly, Rich,
I don't-
I'm so sorry. I meant to look, I'm still suffering from jet lag, guys. I completely forgot to look up my history on this. But I do remember saying that I did not think it was appropriate that we have, I think I did say that we should not have council members there in election years. I think I said that.
I don't remember you saying it that way,
Just don't
Carol.
remember. I don't remember.
Well,
Okay, well, I wasn't part of that conversation, but, the point is in terms of campaigning. And we're sitting right now, I think one is that at the town booth, we should have council representatives we represent the town booth is there to represent the town, to talk about questions that the people have. I completely agree that there should be no sign or semblance of campaigning. I, for one, would not work in the booth at all. I'm going to have 3 other booths to work in, but I will not be doing any campaigning. The committees, Sunset at Sunset, sent out a letter. I don't know if it went to everybody, but it went to me as a candidate requesting no campaigning whatsoever take place during the October 7th event. So I'm pulling myself out as a candidate. Then the next question is.
You mean
it
pulling
seems-
yourself out
as a
Sunset Beach.
as a candidate, I'm pulling myself out of working on the town council booth. So there'll be no question there. My view is that both Carol Scott and Pete Larkin are not going to be candidates. It'd be perfectly well for them to be working in the booth. Mayor Forrester is running unopposed, so there's no campaigning necessary, you could be there. The question would be whether Mark and Rich want to also be there, or the fact that in 2 years they're going to be candidates, they see that's a reason, you know, not to
John, we
attend a
have,
booth. You know.
we have been discussing this for the past 5 years. I think I had black hair at the time. It's a town event. It's paid for by the taxpayers. I don't care how this likes it, it's a town event. I received those letters too as a candidate. And that letter violates my constitutional right to campaign. Okay? And I questioned this policy for years. And,
You know what it is it conflicts with your hearing.
oh, you figured it out. It is my hearing, okay.
Just keep it in front of you.
All right, I have
What
a-
I suggest is, that, and I, shouldn't editorialize, to give Carol a chance to find out, to look at her notes to see exactly what, so she's
Forget
confident.
about what I
that-
said
No.
before.
Okay.
We're talking about the issue.
Well, he's
I
talking
guess
about
we can
pub-
come up
right.
with, you know, how we feel at this point.
All right, if you all want to act on it, act on it.
I think it's a disadvantage for candidates who are applying for council seats, one, to get a letter restricting them from their constitutional right, and two, to have a council member at the town booth when people ask questions during an election year. It's political. Plus, we have to make this decision not for this year's event because who's running and who's not, but in the future so we don't have to revisit this every year. You should have never received that letter. This town has no responsibility restricting you from campaigning. That is your constitutional right.
I have to say, I agree with that. I remember getting that letter 8 years ago, 9 years ago. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. We are using, you know, this is a town event with a lot of town participation. Every individual, as a citizen of this town, has the right for free speech and do what they want. And if somebody's going to wear a button or somebody's going to go around and they want to hand out literature,
That's fine.
whether we like it or not, I don't think we have the legal ability to restrict it, and I don't think we should be.
Just because
restricting
somebody
it.
writes a letter doesn't mean you can't. I mean, 2 years ago, I didn't know who Mark was from a hole in the wall, and he was walking around campaigning. I didn't take issue with that.
No, you
Uh,
did.
Several
it's-
people
No,
did,
I
though.
know,
It's-
but the Sunset at Sunset Committee has routinely sent out every 2 years.
So what?
Okay.
They're sending out that letter. I don't think that letter is appropriate. I think they should be directed not to send out that letter, because I think it is a violation
Well,
of free
Mark
speech.
sits on the
But I'm
board
gonna-
with them, so he needs to translate that to him at the next time he attends one of their meetings.
But
All right, well, let's
I'm
get
gonna-
back to what,
hang on,
But so if it's a
let's get back to what
constitution,
Rich was talking about. What Rich is talking about is a policy and reconfirming, if that's the right word, the policy that was implemented before about no council members
During
manning,
election
during election years, manning the booth at Sunset. That's what his issue is.
So,
Rich,
okay.
Rich, I'd love you to reconsider that, because I think we owe it to our town people to allow non-campaigning activities at our town booth during Sunset at Sunset. It's an informational resource for our citizens.
As long as you're not running, Pete, I agree with you.
My experience has been that when people come by the town booth, and, you know, it's not that heavily populated, that they have specific questions that they direct to town staff who are best equipped to answer those. Tell me about recycling. Tell me about this. You know, those are the kinds of, a lot of the questions that are submitted at that booth.
Yeah, but
I
being on
don't know that it
council,
makes one whit of difference for any councilman or women to ever be at the town booth.
I'm
I
gonna-
don't know
I'm
that
gonna
they
disagree.
contribute much. They sit out there and they wave their hand and they say
Yeah.
hello to people. Or, you know, somebody may come up to them and say, hey, who should I vote for? And that's when it becomes inappropriate.
there's no response, but Carol, I'm going to respectfully disagree. I want to know, as being a council person, I want to get the pulse of people in our town.
But isn't
And I
that
don't
what
want
the
to get
community
it,
meetings are for?
I don't want
As opposed
to,
to
but
the-
it's another opportunity. And it's another opportunity a little more casual than maybe this may be right here. I think we all learn more in our daily lives about what's happening in this town and what the feelings are of the citizens, not at this council meeting. And I think Sunset at Sunset is just another opportunity to have a larger group of people that can walk up to the booth and ask a question. I want to know what's on their minds. I don't want it filtered through staff.
Well, I have, my experience from being there last year is that there are policy questions that arise. People are interested in policy, which the staff can't answer.
And that policy depends from person to person.
Well, of course it
Absolutely.
does. But we all need to be respectful of the dais and not use it as an opportunity to only push our position on a certain subject. We need to be answering the questions as relates to our existing ordinances and why we do things like we do, such as why somebody may get charged a little bit more for recycling because they get more pickups each month. Those kinds of things need to be expressed. We don't need to be saying, I'm opposed to dredging at Jinks Creek.
Yeah, but from a practical standpoint, in response to that, it's going to be asked, Peter, not that question, but something that will be going to be asked, and a council person would respond to it with their own personal opinion, and I can see that's why Rich has taken the position that it should be, that the policy that was established is that no council people should be there.
Everyone should have a fair playing field.
Can't hear you.
Oh, everyone should have a fair playing field. And I think it's a disadvantage for candidates to receive letters that they can't campaign while a council member sits up there.
We've already been pretty unanimous, Rich, that we disagree with that letter. I don't
Okay.
know that we need to beat that to death.
But they've gotten the letter.
Well, so what? I get
And they're not here.
emails all the
One
time that I
person is here.
ignore.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to file a motion if I can, hopefully to capture this. And it's a simple one, that only town staff man the town booth during municipal election years.
At sunset, at sunset.
Say that again?
At sunset, at sunset.
At sunset, at sunset.
All right, that's a motion. Is there any more discussion on it? None appearing? Oh,
Yeah, my problem is I don't have a problem if you're not running that year, Rich. I don't see why there's a problem of a councilman sitting up there on I'm not running this year.
No. I said during municipal election years.
Well, this is an
This
election.
is
year.
an election
This
year.
is an election
So you're
year.
saying myself and you cannot sit up there because,
Yes.
well, I disagree with that. I think if I was running this year, like John did a very good thing, is back down, said he wouldn't sit on the town booth because he's running. We're not running.
So we don't need a motion to
Yeah.
deal with that.
We have a responsibility, I think, to be present.
I do.
At the
I
town
agree
booth.
with
Well, we have a motion, okay. Is there any more discussion on it?
I just like to just word it a little differently, that if you're running for town council or in an office that year,
Let's get rid of this motion and you make a
Why don't you
motion.
withdraw your motion?
Well,
Let's hear what he
No,
says.
let's have a,
No, wait a minute. Withdraw
no,
your
Carol.
motion, let him make another
Carol, excuse me, am I running the meeting or you?
one. No, you can do that, but I'm allowed to
There's a
say,
motion on
ask
the
him to
floor.
withdraw it.
There's a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
I need to hear it again.
The
please.
motion
I'm
is,
sorry.
the motion is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the motion is that no council member man the sunset, the town booth at sunset in an election year. That's the motion.
Yeah, that's pretty.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
I'd like to make a motion that we'll adopt a motion that.
Did we get all the votes in?
Yeah.
No, I'm sitting here trying to,
Oh, I thought it's,
Carol didn't vote yet.
Lisa needs to know how the vote went. You can't, it's
I
yes or no.
understand. I'm actually gonna vote with Rich on this one.
okay. I'd like to make a motion that we allow town council people to work at the town booth.
Excuse me, hold on.
What was your vote?
He
3-2.
voted
No.
no.
Okay, didn't hear it.
Yeah, he voted no.
That we allow town council to work at the booth as long as they're not running for town office that year of election year.
Any discussion on?
That's even though that you may or you're not running
No,
opposed,
it
you
applied to
too.
me. It applied to me. And it's not just council people, any candidate.
Huh?
Running unopposed, he can be an information resource. He's our mayor.
No. See, this is where we get,
Draw the line, Pete. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Pete, but if you're running that year, stay out of the booth, period. It's easy, it's simple, it's cut and dry. There's no, like, second guessing anybody. And if
I just
John
think-
and.
I think the motion can be better stated in the best interest of our citizens.
Well,
That's all.
state it. I feel that if you're running for town office that year, you should not be able to man the booth, period.
Mayor,
Susan?
you just had discussion about disagreeing with Sunset at Sunset, sending those letters, and making the statement that each candidate has a constitutional right to campaign,
right,
correct?
yes.
Now you're making a motion that discriminates against those and denies their ability to campaign
Well-
during an event.
Well, I don't think John has a problem. He can walk around like I did last year.
You
He can
c-
walk
it-
around and
it's
campaign, but
not
just
a-
not at the booth.
It's not a person-specific vote.
Well, Susan, I respect that, and that's why I
No.
said
Yeah.
that no council member or mayor, no elected official should be at the town booth during election years. It's cut and dry.
Well,
There's
that
no
motion's been
discrimination.
defeated, so
But it does not do a service to the town.
Oh, that's nonsense.
Come on, guys, the motion's
It's
been
my view
defeated.
that
Let's
it-
move forward.
Well, no, but the motion now, it's Mark's motion, is that no member of council or mayor who's presently a candidate should man the booth at Sunset at Sunset. Did I say it correctly?
That's correct.
Any more discussion on it? None appearing? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Oh, no, I'm,
Aye.
You opposed?
No, aye.
He's
Aye.
in favor.
Aye is in favor, nay is
Just
opposed.
move into
Really?
the,
I'll compromise and say aye.
Standing with my original position.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
it's,
abstaining because I don't like the motion, but it's already going to pass, so.
No. You gotta vote.
Well, it's considered a
Yes vote
affirmative
anyway.
vote.
And I say that.
So no candidate for council or mayor can man the booth
if you're a candidate, you can't man the booth.
at Sunset at Sunset.
That's the bottom
In an
line.
election, well, in an election year.
so this year precludes you and me, and our other three council members can volunteer to man the booth.
4.
Yes, other four.
Listen, I feel so strongly about this, I'm not gonna man the booth at all.
All right,
I'm not going to be
That's-
there either.
It's your
I don't
prerogative.
think it's appropriate. I
It's
think
not
it just,
appropriate.
it's
I
an
would- we did
influence
it.
that you shouldn't have in a
all right,
election.
the action's been taken, The next item on the agenda is public comments. Mr. Nern?
Charlie, you can campaign.
I didn't plan on it.
Hmm?
I didn't plan on it. Charlie Nern, 647 Oyster Bay Drive. If you want to know why you have more 4-hour meetings, watch this on YouTube. Watch yourselves. See who does the most talking and the most repeating themselves. That's why you have 4-hour meetings. I find it suspicious that some people would want to push a vote through with this council, and on other items, other issues, they don't care if the new council does it. If the new council chooses, they can do just like the previous new council members did after the last election and just change everything the previous council did. As far as Sunset at Sunset goes, it's always been, it's a town festival, it's not an election platform. And everybody followed the rules over the past years except 2 people. And that was Mark and Rich.
Constitution right to do that, Charlie.
Let him
That-
speak, Mark, please.
And you're not supposed to answer anyway, you can't follow the rules, that's
Constitution.
No, come on. Let's-
I sometimes wonder why I'm running. Because to some, this is a joke, but it's not.
All right, come on.
Thank you.
Okay, Charlie, move on. You
I'm
have-
done, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other public comments? Tom?
Tom Vincenz, 422 36th Street. Just wanted to mention that over the last month, I think I've seen Public Works out on Main Street 3 times with their sweeper sweeping back the sand. Quite obviously, that's a never-ending job, and anytime we have a significant rainfall, we know that we're going to have sand washing back into the street, and some of which is going to end up in our waterway. I'm not sure exactly where we stand with the sidewalk. I think we're waiting for bids before we make any final decision. But I'm thinking that if we do proceed with that, given the fact that we're going to be tearing up that piece of real estate on the south end of the roadway, if we could consider cutting a very gentle swale on the side of the road. We saw in the presentation that we received from the Coastal Federation a few weeks ago, you know, the benefit of doing so. And certainly we could not have a swale that would interrupt parking in that area, and that's why I would use the word gentle. But I wonder if we could not get the level of ground just off the bike path and in between that and the sidewalk below the road level, preventing sand from washing back on the road and also serving as an opportunity for some absorption of stormwater during later rainfalls. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan, you've been working on that, haven't you?
Did you have a question?
No,
Besides-
no, why don't you indicate that you've been looking into doing basically exactly what he was suggesting along
Well,
Main Street?
that would be not a accurate statement. We are working right now with the state stormwater and CAMA, developing the application to present to them. They and the state will make the determination as to the design and swale and requirements.
Okay, but that is something that you looked at. I know you thought it was a great way of solving some of our issues, and you're trying to get that through DOT and.
Yeah, that is an option. That we look at all those types of options. We know it's an issue, you know. So I mean, but again, the final decision will be by NCDOT and the state as to what they will allow. We had swales put in, if you know, at the town park along the road. Unfortunately, because of the sand, they aren't maintained. They don't keep up very well and require high maintenance. So we'll look at everything that is available to us.
Any other public comment? None appearing, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?